you doing with my mailbox?
Oh, I'm just admiring it. It's perfect. Happy holidays.
The 1977 US Christmas stamp is a classic when it comes to Christmas stamps. 13 cents, featuring a rural mailbox packed with packages and letters, is not only simple and a beautiful holiday season image, but it also has aged well over time. This could be a scene today. Actually, probably even more so, since most of our Christmas or holiday shopping takes place online and ends up in our mailbox. I'd argue that this stamp could be issued today here in the US, minus the fact that it's 13 cents. Today's 55 cents. You'd need a little more than 4 of these stamps to send a letter. But it is a charming and simple Christmas stamp that is a favorite for stamp artists, mail artists, and anyone sending Christmas mail at this time of year. It is my favorite Christmas stamp of all time. Well, those swearing parrots are a hot contender for first place, but yeah, this is definitely a must-have if you're into Christmas stamps or just general beautiful stamps that feature winter scenes. Oh, and I should probably mention this. It is a federal crime to tamper with anyone's mailbox here in the United States. This includes opening it up and placing items in it. You could get yourself into a lot of trouble, so yeah, don't do it. Speaking of the Swearing Parrot stamp, I recently launched 2 shorter videos, one featuring the Swearing Parrot stamp as well as the Murder Mystery postmark, the Madeline Smith postmark. If you haven't already done so, check them out. Like I said, they're much shorter, they were a lot of fun to make, so I plan on launching a few more of those in the future. Also in the news is that I and this channel won an award from the PTS, Legacy Champion of the Year. The PTS decided to launch some awards this year to highlight unique entrepreneurs and businesses within the industry, more so focused on the spirit of hard work and creativity. For the awards, the PTS partnered with the Philatelic Exporter publication, and for the announcing of the awards, or really the awards ceremony, they partnered with the APS, who streamed the awards ceremony through Facebook. So you can go ahead and watch the awards ceremony. You'll see a number of familiar faces, including conversations with philatelists Charles and Michael, who won the Creative Concept of the Year award. So congrats to them, and thank you, all of you, for supporting this channel and making it what it is today. That award goes to all of you, really. Legacy Champion of the Year, which celebrates the learnings and continued progress of learning in philately and creating content that can be watched by the next generation of philatelists and so on. So thank you to all of you. Remember, I'm learning as I go, and I'm learning with all of you. Speaking of the PTS, they also announced, and I'm not doing this as a shout out because they gave me an award, they also announced that the Stampex in spring, I believe March, is going to be virtual, just like the one we had in October. Except they say it's going to be bigger and better, and I don't know really what that means. I guess we just have to stay tuned and see what they have planned. But I'm excited for that virtual Stampex. It's really great to see the PTS and the APS working together to promote the hobby online and embrace the online philatelic community. And their support and their acknowledgement of the online philatelic community is only going to help this hobby grow. And it's no surprise that there are still a number of philatelic organizations and societies that have not yet made the jump into the online world to promote the hobby. But it is a surprise to see a philatelic organization make disparaging remarks about the online philatelic community publicly. This has recently been done by the Fédération Internationale des Philatelies, FIP. If you don't know who they are, I don't think you need to bother worrying about them, but they made a comment in a recent publication about how the online philatelic community and its social media isn't really meaningful. A direct quote is, "In recent years, we also now have a generation of social media philatelists. Their messages are often derivative or repetitious, and many of these social media influencers seem to have no real connection to whatever it is they are promoting. Some would ask legitimately whether any of this is even philately. If anybody tells you that you are not a philatelist because of the way that you collect and study stamps, they're wrong, and you just have to ignore them. I've been told this many times by different people, including recently on Canadian Stamp News. There was a quote from a vice chair of a research foundation, a philatelic research foundation, that was commenting about my channel and said that it's not philately, but it is stamp collecting, educational, fun, and brilliantly done. Well, I'm glad they like it, but they are wrong. This is philately. You define philately based on the way you want to collect and you want to study stamps. The definition of philately is collection and studying of stamps. And you can actually be a philatelist that doesn't have a collection, but you learn from stamps, you look at stamps, you research them and encourage learning from them. Or you could be a stamp collector that just wants to know a little bit more about stamps. If you're watching this channel, you're probably a philatelist. If you're looking at your stamps in more than just an item that you put away in an album because it's pretty, you are definitely a philatelist. So don't let anyone say that to you. Of course, those comments from the FIP hit hard. They also bashed the APS's Youth Fellowship program, stating that while it makes a lot of noise, it really hasn't achieved little of merit given the money it's spent. Not a great return on investment. Let us admit to failure and go back to the drawing board. Also, just to note, they spelt YouTube with a U. But don't worry, the Digital Philatelist did reply with a comprehensive response that you should definitely read. Check out the original document from the FIP as well as the Digital Philatelist response, which I'll have in the description of this video. And whatever your opinion is, whether you side with the FIP and don't think much of the online philatelic world, or you want to defend the online philatelic community, make your voice heard. Let's hear what your opinion is. Definitely comment on the Digital Philatelist's post as well as comment on this video and let us all know. It's important that we have a healthy debate about the state of philately and the role that the online philatelic community plays in this. And it's definitely something that I think the online philatelic community should not be ignored, and more society should follow in the steps of the PTS and the APS and embrace this community that is doing so much for philately right now. Now check this out. This is a stock book that comes from Lighthouse, but it actually is a book safe. Well, in this case, it's a stock book safe. The safe, which has a lock and key, is perfectly disguised as a simple stock book that could hide on my shelf. Now, it's important to note that this is not a fireproof safe, and you probably wouldn't be storing your stamps or very valuable stamps in here, because what's the point? You're still storing your stamps among your stamp collection that could be stolen. Even the box shows other valuables being placed in it, such as passports, jewelry, coins, and so on. I don't know, I just want to bring this to your attention. I don't know why I purchased it. Perhaps I thought it was funny, because by using this to place my valuable items in and then hiding among my stamp albums, I'm basically admitting that the least value in my home, or the place that is perceived to have the least value in my home, that you wouldn't go search for valuable items, is my stamp albums. Oh well. Maybe I'll find something that I need to lock up in here so that it can't come out. I don't know. We'll put it to good use, maybe in this episode. I've been receiving a ton of mail from all of you over the last several weeks. It's been great to read through. I've been enjoying it, and it gets a bit overwhelming, but I am working on the reply. So if you haven't received a reply as of yet, then just hang in there a little bit longer, because I'm making my way through it. It's a bit intense. Now, I know how much you enjoy when I go through mail and checking out all the random and weird and cool things that people send me. But for this episode, not to drag it out too long, let's just take a look at 10 items that were sent my way, and I'll share them with you right now. first item that I'd like to share with you is a bit of a tragedy. It's a postcard that got ripped up on its journey to me. It must have got caught in one of the sorting machines or something. And it's a vintage postcard. Somebody was using an old postcard, wrote my name and address on it, and I can't really see much else because it was ripped up. Even the return address of the sender has been ripped up. I can see only a little portion of it. So if you were the sender of this postcard, please reach out to me and let me know. I'd like to thank you. One of the interesting things about this postcard is the fact that it got ripped up and placed in this cover, this United States Postal Service cover, where on the front it's a window so you can see what the item is, and on the back is an apology saying that we care. Dear valued postal customer, I want to extend my sincere apology as your postmaster for the enclosed document that was inadvertently damaged in handling by your postal service, your postmaster. And I've received one of these before from the Royal Mail when something got ripped up and caught up in their sorting machines. But what's interesting about this is then I posted it on Twitter and got a number of reactions. One of the replies to my tweet was Gary Lowe from the APS, and he mentioned that this would make a great ambulance cover collection. This is called an ambulance cover, and the name is just perfect. Basically, a cover for quickly transporting an injured or damaged item to the recipient. Perhaps you have received an ambulance cover in the past, but while this postcard has been ripped up, I'm actually grateful to have an ambulance cover and now know what it is. So thank you, Gary Lowe, for tweeting that reply to me and for telling us and educating all of us right now what an ambulance cover is. So keep a lookout for them and don't get too upset if one of your mail items gets ripped up in the mail, because perhaps you'll have an ambulance cover and you'll know what it is and you'll be able to talk about it with your friends and family. Next up is a letter sent to me from Australia, Gustavo, who sent me a number of interesting stamps, including a coin, because he is a numismatist as well as a philatelist. A numismatist is the philatelist equivalent in the world of money and coins. But he writes to me saying, I'm Gustavo from Brazil, now living in Australia for 10 months. I'm a beginner philatelist, started studying and collecting stamps last year. I'd like to invite you to join Filabras, the newest philatelic online Brazilian association, only 5 months old, but with more than 500 members, created by lovely philatelist people who want to keep the hobby alive. I'm going to place the social media for Filabras right here, as well as in the description of this video. So all of you can go ahead and check out Filabras and even join the group. Thank you very much, Gustavo. Here is a letter from Ryan in also Australia. Dear Graham, hello from Australia. I've decided to write to you after your latest fantastic episode of #Philately viewer mail. That was like 2 or 3 videos ago. I loved your series Exploring Stamps. It proved to be a great inspiration for me, so much so I decided to do my own little written Exploring Stamps report on the subject of British influence in Australia as told through stamps for my Year 12 history project. That's brilliant. There's a lot to cover in there, I believe, so well done. Ryan also included a separate piece of paper that I think is describing, oh no, this is a script to describe the stamp that he included on the envelope that came my way. So yeah, let's clear up here, hang on. I need some music. Alright, there we go. The stamp on the envelope depicts Her Majesty the Queen at the 2019 Royal Ascot and was released to commemorate her 93rd birthday. Australia releases a set annually on the Queen's birthday, and it usually comes in a set of 2, one at the domestic postage rate and one for the standard international post rate. It is interesting to note, since 2001 with the introduction of the Goods and Services Tax, GST, Australia Post has released stamps with the specific purpose of international post, which is indicated by the small blue box inscribed International Post. Because international post is Goods and Services Tax exempt, but domestic post is not. I'll continue and say this cover, of course, was sent from Australia on the 17th of November in 2020. And we can see a pictorial cancel with the words "Spread the Merry" as the Australian Post is celebrating the holiday season. This is fun. I like it when somebody does all the hard work for me and then I just have to read it. We should do this more often. Thank you, Ryan. So this one didn't come with any note, and I don't know who sent it, but it's just a lot of contact lens solution. Thank you, whoever sent this. I don't wear contact lenses. I wear glasses because I can't see very far. There we go. But yeah, I don't wear glasses when I film so that there's no reflection issues, and it actually kind of helps me because all I see is a fuzzy camera and I don't get distracted by anything else. But I think I know one or two folks that may need contact lens solution that I can give them. Maybe this is a joke because I like to lean into the camera a lot as if I can't see it, which I really can't. And that's kind of funny. Thank you. This one doesn't count as one of the 10, but I just want to call it out because it's a post-crossing postcard that's in my mail here that has a post-crossing stamp. It's from Brazil, which is really neat, and it's a really large and quite a lovely stamp that was issued this year in 2020 for World Postcard Day. So I now have 2 post-crossing stamps, and I know there are a few more out there that I'll keep an eye out for, but that's a really great stamp. Here's a brilliant cover from Indonesia. This was sent to me from Nathaniel, who writes to me saying, "Greetings from Medan, Indonesia. I hope it doesn't take too long for this mail to reach the US. Currently, the shipping route from Indonesia to the US is closed." This was back in September, he wrote to me. So, Nathaniel, it arrived. October, November, December. Yeah, so it's over 3 months, almost 4 months of travel time. But enclosed are a set of COVID stamps, non-charity version, and some other stamps. Hope you like it. Yeah, absolutely. I don't have these COVID stamps here. These are Indonesian COVID stamps. What's interesting about these Indonesian stamps, and I just realized this now, is that while a number of COVID stamps out there are celebrating workers on the front line, this one is, I think, the first one I've seen that celebrates the concept of the internet and technology supporting us during this time. You can see individuals on laptops, like a Zoom call, a satellite, cell phone towers, and so on. It's an interesting thing. I didn't think of that as something to acknowledge, but it has been the key thing that has kept us all together during COVID. Now, I wonder if other countries have done it. To my knowledge, this is the only one. Thank you very much, Nathaniel. Okay, next up, another one from Australia. Yes, I know it's the 3rd one from Australia, but to be fair, they've been sending me a lot of mail, and I think they're in the top 5 countries that view this channel. Well, let's check that out. Yep, top 5. United States, UK, India, Canada, and Australia. So Australia just makes it into the top 5. So hi everyone in the US, UK, India, Canada, and Australia. Thank you very much for watching my show. Now, this letter is from Rebecca, who lives in Queensland, and she did a fantastic job of making me not want to open the cover because it's just too perfect. We're very well decorated, just eye-catching and stunning stuff here. And she writes to me saying, "Hi Graham, my name is Rebecca and I've been watching your channel for the last few years. It totally inspired me and I opened my own vintage shop Etsy store. I will put that link over here as well as in the description. After watching your video on the virtual stamp show, it inspired me to write to you after you said you joined Postcrossing. I make my own postcards. I have enclosed 2 of each, 1 set to keep and 1 set to use, or both sets to use. It's up to you." I'm definitely going to keep a set because these are stunning postcards. Check these out. Really great stuff. Thank you, Rebecca. You also enclosed something that your friend is making, Roxanne, who makes these labels that you can attach to your letters, your outgoing mail. And one was included on the cover that Rebecca sent me, but these labels just say, "Dear Postie, thank you for working hard so we can stay safe. You are a hero." I am definitely going to use some of these in my outgoing mail and probably keep 1 or 2 for my COVID collection. And while it's not a postage stamp, it is a label or a Cinderella that is part of postal stationery and will be part of postal history during this COVID time. Sending thanks to our postal workers in some form, whether it's social media or writing letters on our door or leaving letters in our post boxes or applying stickers such as this onto our mail, is part of that history. So This is great. I also know that in addition to the Etsy shop, Rebecca has a Patreon account and an Instagram account. And I'm going to put all those accounts over here as well as in the video description. So check them all out. All right, next one from Canada, Ontario. This is Garth, who writes to me with a holiday card. Happy holidays, Garth. Dear Graham, your Exploring Stamps channel on YouTube is awesome. I started watching your videos in June and they got me interested in stamp collecting. I really like your enthusiasm for philately. I hope that you have a safe and relaxing season. Thank you, Garth. And also included is a Toronto postcard. And this is excellent that he sent me this because it brings up something else that happened in the recent weeks. A viewer tagged me on Twitter with the photographs they took of Toronto back in 1992. And what is so interesting about this is that I had made a video in season 2, I think, where I went to Toronto in search for a particular scene that was on a 1993 stamp. And I tried to line it up perfectly where the skyline matched the stamp. But I walked the entirety of the Toronto Islands and failed to achieve that match in skyline and stamp. And I was convinced that I had the right location where that image was taken, and therefore it might have been just some changes that the artist had done. But Mark had taken a photograph back in 1992 that is an exact match to the stamp. The buildings line up perfectly. Even the boats look like they're in the same place. It's just perfect. And there's two things to that. One, I had the wrong place. It was Ontario Place, not the Toronto Islands, which is a slight change in angle from where I was taking it, but it makes a difference. And the other key thing is that the skyline is very different in 1992 compared to when I was walking around in 2018. So it closes the case for me for that episode that I filmed where I was quite disheartened I couldn't get the exact angle. I went out filming thinking that this will be easy. I'd find the location on the Toronto Islands, take it, and be done. But I was quite disheartened. I walked the entirety of those islands without achieving the view. But also the fact that Mark identified that stamp's view from an image he took in 1992. Mark, well done, and thank you very much. And thank you, Garth, for sending me the Toronto postcard that sparked that thought. I got 2 items from the Philippines, both of which are great covers, one featuring a number of interesting Philippine stamps, including the Philippine Airlines stamp, and one celebrating 100 years of Philippine cinema, and the other has a full block of the COVID-19 stamps. Both of them actually sent me mint COVID stamps. Thank you both. These might be in my top 5 or so COVID stamps that were issued because I just love the artwork. Also, I really appreciate the fact that it calls out the various types of frontline heroes with their own stamp. We have nurses, military personnel, grocery clerks, police, chefs, medical technicians, delivery personnel, and doctors, all represented on their own stamp. And you can see the title of all this is Frontline Heroes Fight Against Coronavirus, We Fight For You. I think they were really well done by Phil Post, and I really like these stamps. Thank you to both Mark and Emerson. And Mark actually sent me some of these Philippine stamps that include FDR looking at his stamp collection. I actually didn't know these stamps existed. These 3 stamps were issued in 1950 for the 25th anniversary of the Philippine Philatelic Association. What better way to showcase philately than to show one of the most famous philatelists of all time, FDR, examining his own stamp collection. Another thing that Emerson sent me is this sheet of personalized stamps that has the channel on it. This is great. You can see that this mini sheet from Phil Post includes 4 Philippine stamps, and to the right of each stamp is an image of my channel. So it's a personalized image. This is really interesting. Thank you, Emerson. And I'm going to have to look up more about these personalized stamps. All right, this one is from Russia, Irakli in Russia, who has put some really interesting stamps. Check out this silver one. Is this a windmill? That's really neat. Anyway, he writes to me saying, warm greetings from Sochi, Russia, sending you some stamps from unrecognized and partly recognized states, Abkhazia, Donetsk, and Luhansk people republics. Despite DPR and LPR stamps being of meh quality, the stamps are issued there often and are actively used for postage between themselves or inside the republics. Abkhazia stamps are great, but not really used for postage. I know I've covered several instances where a country that was not yet independent began issuing stamps, and therefore it was not fully recognized around the world as an independent country. But these are current situations where the states, or republics as they were referred to, are not independent. Actually, Abkhazia, I think, is in Georgia, while Donetsk and Luhansk is, I think, in Ukraine. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But what also interests me, apart from the fact that philately is playing an active role in politics again here, is the definition. What really classifies a country as being an unrecognized or partly recognized state? For instance, and hear me out here, Israel would be considered a partly recognized state. 30 or so countries do not recognize it. Also, South Korea, in which one country in the world, North Korea, doesn't recognize it. Would these two countries be part of your stamp collection if you're collecting partly recognized states? I don't know. Thank you for these stamps, Irakli, and if anyone knows of any good literature or places to learn more about unrecognized or partly recognized states, please drop a comment. Okay, before I open the last one, just two quick questions and a shout out. One question is, what do you use? This is Jacqueline, by the way. She sent this fascinating, oh, it's upside down, fascinating postcard, self-made, of course, by just using the flap of a marshmallow banana pie. Anyway, she asked a question, what do you use to store postcards? Depends, is it used or are these unused postcards you're referring to? Because you do mention that you are using a stockbook to store your stamps that you plan on using in the future. And a lot of people are reaching out to me saying that they're doing that. It's a great way to organize the stamps that you intend to use. But if you're referring to used postcards that come to you in the mail, the options really are that I'm aware of a shoebox or an album. Now, albums do get expensive when it comes to postcards because postcards take up a lot of space. And if you're getting a lot of postcards, you're going to have to get a lot of pages for your albums. And so that could get quite costly, but look into it. Otherwise, I just really store them in shoeboxes. And postcards are important, especially during this time. Postcards we're sending and receiving in the future will become interesting items for philatelists or those studying postal history to collect, because they're making their way through the mail during COVID, often sharing stories about how you're coping during this time. So you do want to look after them. But if somebody has a better recommendation on how to store postcards that they receive, let us know, as well as postcards that you intend to use. At the moment, I just throw all my postcards in one tall pile on my bookshelf, and when I need a postcard, I have to spread it out across my desk, look for one, and use that, especially when it comes to post-crossing. But maybe there's a better organized way to do it. I'm thinking maybe I get a shoebox and label different groupings like animals, landscapes, and so on. Maybe that's a better way to do it. I don't know. I'm interested to hear from you. Another postcard I received is from CJ, who you'll know from Philately Things. And what's interesting about this postcard is that it is using her local post. She created a local post, a temporary local post called Piggy Post. And local post is something that I knew very little about until watching the stamp chat with CJ, where she explained local post really well as shared with us how she created the Piggy Post. You'll see that it comes with its own unique label that's in the corner here, as well as a cancellation. Now, to add to the interesting points about local post, is that it could be considered illegal since you would be competing with the United States Postal Service, for example. So you're going to have to go watch the video and see whether or not piggyback post is legal or illegal. And I'm very excited to have my first local post stamp that I'm going to start my own little collection with. So thank you so much, CJ. And then the final postcard that came my way is just from the Canadian Rockies. This is from John. He says that him and his wife really enjoy these videos. Could you please do a video on chain cards? Chain cards are really interesting. I'd love to do a video on that at some point. Basically, postcards travel between a group of 4 to 6 people, picking up various stamps and postmarks along the way, and it could be international or just national within your own country. I have to point you to a really good stamp chat that features Stacy Adam, who breaks down the process for mailing chain cards and setting up your own group. It's really interesting, so check that out. The link is in the video description. Okay, and the last item is from Austria, sent to me by the Hapsburg Philatelist, who we discussed in a previous video. But what he sent me this time is a bit ridiculous. It is a piece of toilet paper. Austria issued these toilet paper stamps this year. This is actually a souvenir sheet where only this part here is the stamp that gets stuck onto the envelope. Both the stamp and the souvenir sheet are reminding us to social distance, a total of 1 meter, which you should very quickly associate with the length of a baby elephant. I have a feeling that the ideation department at Austria's postal service is a really fun place to work. I'm just saying that out loud. Anyway, you can tell that it is a semi-postal, where the additional revenue will go to a charitable cause. This stamp is actually made out of toilet paper, and while I say this is ridiculous, it did get the attention of mainstream media as well as non-collectors who went and purchased them. For anyone watching this and not sure why toilet paper was used, maybe this is being watched in 2040, well, just to let you know, toilet paper went off the shelves really quickly when COVID happened and the lockdowns started to take effect. I don't know why toilet paper was a big deal, but it was, and stores had to ration out their supplies or were sold out for long periods of time. One person on Twitter mentioned that it's unlikely that you'll find a used copy of this, postally used copy of this. But I do think that this stamp embodies everything that we've been through this year. It is a good representative of what 2020 was all about. This would be like the perfect component for a time capsule to be locked away, only to confuse people when they unearth it hundreds of years from now. And we have exactly the right mechanism for that. Thank you for sending my way, Hapsburg Philatelist. And I do want to just take a moment to thank all of you for an interesting year that it has been. While we have all been through a very difficult and interesting time together, it has been an incredible year for philately. This virus has pushed philately into the online world. Clubs and societies have gone online, producing content for the entire world to view. Stamp shows have gone online and opened their doors to people that would never have been able to travel or visit a stamp show. There is an appetite, a thirst for philatelic content online, and we've seen it this year. Anyway, let's keep the momentum moving in 2021 with online philately and this community. If you are inspired to create content for the world's greatest hobby, whether it's podcasts, YouTube channels, or something else, now is the time to do it, and I encourage you to do it. As always, thank you for watching. Please have a happy and safe holiday season, and I look forward to seeing you in 2021.